Welcome back to our playlist about Retrofit. In this video, we're going to see how to set up the post, put, and delete methods. Okay, so here in this guide or documentation for the JSON placeholder API, you can see that you have some sample requests and responses as well. Okay, in the previous video, we dealt with to-dos, not posts. Okay. If you check our project again, here you can see we have a to-dos item. We simulated an HTTP request with a get method like that with our get to-dos method. Okay, and we retrieved that in our main activity with retrofit client.api service.get to-dos, and we logged that response. Okay. So that was an HTTP request with a GET method. In the documentation, you can see that they are using the posts alternative, but both of them work. Okay. Moving forward, we are going to use this posts data class, and we're going to create it. It's very similar in structure to the to-do that we already have. As you can see, you have the ID, the title, and the user ID, but you have this body instead of the completed boolean. Okay, that's what they want to work with in this guide, and we can follow that as well. Okay, this was what we previously did, but with the to-dos to retrieve a list of to-dos from this API. Okay, in this video, we're going to use the post method to create a post and update a post as well as delete a post. Okay, patch and update are very similar. Updates the whole object with the input object that you send. Meanwhile, patch allows you to update a single field in the object that you want. Okay, so keep that in mind. We will get to that later. But now we're concerned with creating a post. Okay, so the post method with HTTP requests is intended to create a resource. Okay, that's why we use the post method, and we're going to try it out with a post. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this post before we explore this example. For your to-dos item, check it right there, copy it as it is, and create a post. You can name it. Okay, it's going to create a data class identical to the to-dos item, and you're going to just rename the completed to a body which is a string. Okay, just to conform with this structure right there. Okay, so you have an ID, a title, a body, and a user ID, which is what we have right there in our data class. Okay, and with a post method, we're going to have to send something called a body. Okay, you don't send this with a GET request because you just want to retrieve some resources from the internet. Okay, but with a POST request, you want to create a resource. Okay, so you have to supply that resource which you want to create within the body of the request. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to send a body with Retrofit. Okay, so you have to specify the method as post, and you have to supply the body that you want to create for this post object. And this is the response that you're going to get in return, okay, which is also a post. So back in your Android Studio, inside your API service, you're going to create a new method, which is suspend fun, create to do. Okay, this will return a create post. Sorry, not create to do. We got used to those right there, which will return a post. Okay, but this is not a GET request, it's a POST request, okay? And it will require which endpoint? It will require the POSTS endpoint, okay? And right there, we're going to write POSTS, okay? To conform with this URL. And we're going to supply a post within the body. How do we send a body within Retrofit? Within the method parameters, you're going to write a new annotation, which is add body, okay, for the Retrofit 2 package. And this body will be in itself a post, okay? We're going to choose the post that we have in our application and not the post for Retrofit. Okay, keep that in mind. And that's how you create a post request, okay, with a body that we're going to supply inside our main activity, okay. So let's create the post, which we want to invoke with that API. So here we're going to create a variable. We're going to name it post to create equals to post, which will expect a body. This can be any string. It will expect an ID. We're going to supply one, a title, which is also a string, and a user ID, which is another integer. Okay. We're also going to supply one for the user ID. After that, we want to invoke our API. Okay. So let's create a response. We're going to name it post response, and it will be equal to retrofit client.api service.create post, which will take this post as a parameter. And after that, we're going to log this post response with post response.toString. Okay. To avoid confusion, we're going to name this get response. Okay. And copy and paste that right there. So as you can see, we set up our post method within the interface, and we called it inside our main activity, but within a coroutine scope, of course. Okay, remember that we're dealing with suspend functions. After that, go ahead and open your logcat, filter for post response, and run your application. And there you can see this post response. Okay, this was returned from the API call, which indicates that we made a successful HTTP request with the post method. And next, we're going to look into updating a resource, okay, with the put method. As you can see, if you want to update a resource, you also have to send the body. And in addition, you have something that you have to pay attention to. You have to supply the ID of the post that you want to update. Okay. So here you want to send the updated post within the body, and in order for the server to identify which post you want to update, you have to supply the ID of that post. Okay, sometimes that ID can be 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, or the ID of basically any post on your server. Okay, and this will also return a post. But here, the trick is how to handle this. Okay, because within Retrofit, as you can see, when we supply a URL, it is static. Okay, we're always calling this URL when we want to get the to-dos, and this URL when we want to create a post. But we have to create like a dynamic URL, which can take basically any ID that we want. Okay, and in order to achieve that with Retrofit and HTTP in general, you have to use something called a path variable. Okay, and I'm going to demonstrate how to create this path variable right now. So as you can see right there, this will be basically the same endpoint as the post method, but with an extra ID. Okay. So here, right, suspend fun, update post. It will also return a post. Okay. But this will be a put method. Okay. A put method which takes as a parameter posts, but we can't supply one right there because we want to specify the ID that we want to update at runtime. Okay, so what you're going to do here is to use your curly braces and write the name of a variable that you want. Okay, I'm going to call this ID just like that so that we can have a dynamic URL. Okay, and in order for Retrofit to identify where to get this ID from, you have to create a path variable right there within the method parameters. Okay, and you can do that with add path. Okay, within add path, you have to copy and paste the name of that variable. Okay, and after that, you want to create this variable like this. You're going to supply this ID, which is an integer. Okay, that's how you fully create a path variable because this alone is not enough. Okay, you have to have a variable to use right there. Okay, and after that, with updating a resource, you also have to supply a body, which is also a post. Okay, so after your path variable, you're going to write a comma and use the add body annotation again. Okay, which will also take a post, just like we did with this method. Okay, so that's about it. That's how you create a put method within Retrofit. And now we're going to call it inside our main activity. Okay, here we can create another post. We can name it post to update. And we can have the same post as this one. Okay, that's not important. Here we're going to create a variable for our update response. Okay, so you're going to write val update response equals to retrofit client dot API service dot update post. We're going to supply the ID of the post that you want to update. And here you can supply, for example, post to update dot ID if you want. Okay. And you have to supply the whole post, which is post to update. Okay. That's about it. And we just want to log this response. We're going to log update response followed by update response dot toString. Okay. Filter for that in your logcat and run your application again. So there's our emulator. Open your logcat and there's your update response. Okay, and that's how you do an update method with the put method within Retrofit. And as we've discussed, a patch is very similar to an update, but it allows for a partial update if you want. Okay, so instead of supplying the whole body of the new object, you can just supply a new field for that object. Okay, so you don't have to apply the update for the whole object. You can just update the title if you want, or the body, or the ID. Okay, and it's exactly like the put right there. Okay, if you replace the put with patch, just like that, it will achieve the same outcome. So setting them up is exactly the same. okay? Which is why we're going to dive into deleting a resource. And when deleting a resource, most of the time you will only need the path variable, okay? Because you just want to tell your server that you want to delete a certain resource, okay? And all that server should need to know which resource it needs to delete is the ID of that resource, okay? And here, implementing it is very straightforward, okay? Back in your Retrofit application, right there, we're going to create a new suspend function, which is delete post, okay? Delete post, which will return any if you want. You don't really care about the response of the deletion right there. Okay, you can actually have an idea of whether it was successful or not if you use the response provided by Retrofit. Okay, so you can use the response of type int right there if you want. Okay, if you want to know if it was successful or not. Okay, and right there you would need the add delete annotation. Okay, and it will also expect this URL, the same with the put method, and it will also expect this path variable, okay, which is an ID. That's all you need to set up the delete post endpoint and in your main activity. Here you can just directly write, for example, delete response equals to retrofit client.api service.delete post, and you can pass for the ID 1. Okay, and right there you can check if this response was successful or not. Okay, so you can write if delete response dot is successful. For example, you can log delete response post successfully deleted. Okay, else you can log failed to delete post, just like that. Okay, and just filter for that in your logcat and run your application again. And we got an error, okay, because we were over optimistic with the return type, which was response of type int, and it should be response of type unit. Okay, just update that and clear your logcat. Filter for this tag again and run your application again. So that's our emulator and that's our response. Okay, post successfully deleted, indicating that we did indeed make a successful delete method, okay, within our HTTP request. And that's about it. If you like my type of content and you find it to be relatable, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for future content, and I'll see you in the next video.